Tea for tea. Now we're not having a cup of tea, it's time for some tools. We have done in previous lesson giving you a little bit of an overview of all sorts of things regarding the layout. But what we wanted to quickly do is just show you some of the tools that are here that you might not be aware of but can really make your life a lot easier. So we've just kept these till a little bit later because now they start to become relevant and have meaning. So you'll see on the far right hand side there are a couple of different tools that when you click on them, they change color, so you can see when they're activated or not activated. We just want to quickly have a look at a few of them and how they can make your life a lot easier. So the first one we have here, you'll see it says turn video and audio skimming on or off. So at the moment you can see it's highlighted. So as I move, you'll notice at the top there I can see what's going on. If I don't want that, by clicking on it. And now in order to move, you've actually got to move using the top slider bar over here rather than just moving up and down. Now there can be a reason for that sometimes because you just want to move around and you don't want the thing moving with you all the time. Right, the next one is our audio skimming. It's our video skimming. The next one's our audio skimming. When you have this one on, what it does is when you're on a clip that has sound, you can hear it actually quickly plays through the sound. So if that's something that you need, it may be when you're trying to find a spot, you can quickly do that. Obviously this is a very short clip and we can zoom in, so that is audio skimming. We'll come back to this one later. One of the most useful ones is snapping. Now this is useful because when snapping is on, it allows you to drag things and put them in the correct place. So let me just turn it off for a moment and just show you. So let's say I took this clip out and I decided to drag and I want to place it here, but I'd actually like it to the end of this clip to line up with the end of the clip above. So now it's quite difficult even if I zoom in. If I turn snapping on, it'll realize that's what I want to do. So now when I get here, it immediately, as you see, a line appears and it snaps to the right position. Let me move it again. I'm going to move it. I want to line it up over here. Snaps to the right position. So snapping is a great way to make sure that you are getting your clips aligned. Otherwise, if you've maybe got an audio clip or something else into here, it might not align properly.
Okay, the one thing you will find with snapping, if you're trying to get something very precise, so let's say you've got like, you want to have it just after this clip, so in between, you notice it gives a little, it's not as precise. So sometimes you want to turn it off just for a little bit just to get your preciseness, but most of the times you won't want to do that because you want to have it aligned to the end.
Yeah, so if you want a little bit of an overlap, that's when you would probably turn it off because you're trying to make it just start 5 seconds before or something, and then snapping can be irritating. So those are some of the key tools that are at the bottom here that are quite important, and here about some others.
Okay, so one you might have on or off depending is this one. Okay, so this shows you like your audio level. So if you click here, it's got a little tiny thing that you might not be able to see. So if you click this, it'll turn off, and if you click it again, it'll turn on. So this is when you're watching your video. You'll see the decibels. So normally we keep it between -6 and 0. That's just the range you want. So now you can clearly know if your audio is at the right level. And another thing we see at the top here is you see these little dots, and this is basically turns the side and the timeline off. So if you need more space to watch the video, so if I turn that off, you'll see you have more space on the side. If I turn this one off, you've got more space on the other side. So now you see if I turn that one off, it completely removes your timeline, so you can't even edit. But you'll see this one's actually pretty important over here, which you may not have on, which is your settings. So if I click on a video like this and I have my settings on, you'll see there's a lot of different effects I can use, and this is where you really get
and this is going to become quite important later because you can add effects to videos. As you can see over here, I can add all sorts of different effects to my video, audio effects, etc. And so if I want to see those effects, you need to have the clip selected and you need to make sure that settings is on. So you can then scroll down and see, oh, we've got a crop effect or a distort effect or a stabilization effect applied to that video. One last thing you may want to have a quick look at if you want, right on the far right here is an option to quickly also change your zoom. We looked at how you can use pinch to zoom, etc. But you can also change zoom. You can also change other options about even the height of your video clips, etc. So if you want to get it to something that's better suited to your screen, and there are some quick settings as well.
Okay, so yeah, this was really just to get the right kind of feel for you. So if you have got a lot of footage to work with, you might want to make this super small because you don't really need to see. But I find just to have a nice thumbnail picture there is always great. And then at the top here, this is how big. So now you can't even see the audio levels. You can see it a little bit here. And if you really want to see it, you can see it more there. And this is basically just audio. So these are things you can fiddle with, and this is just what suits you the best.
Right, and one last thing. So we've had a little look at some of the tools. We're trying to make you familiar with the environment, make you really comfy. We did talk about that all the time. You'll see at the moment there is nothing rendering, so all the background tasks are finished. As soon as we start moving things around, it's going to start trying to re-render, and when we start adding effects, etc., it's going to start trying to render every now and again. You may notice, depending on the computer that you've got, that Final Cut Pro is quite intense on your processor. And every now and again, you may notice if you're starting to do too much and do too much heavy lifting for Final Cut Pro, you may actually hear your fan coming on. Let's see if we can. Ours is now just turned on. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. Right, if you can hear it quietly there in the background, the MacBook Pro's fan is just turned on because it's doing a whole lot of work besides the Final Cut Pro we're doing. We're busy recording the screen at the same time. So be aware of that, and also be aware that if you are going to do a lot of editing, that be careful of your computer. Obviously it can overheat. The fan will do its best to try and keep it cool. That you are using a very powerful package that's doing some very powerful things. So do be aware that the fan can sometimes come on quite a lot as it tries to keep the processor cool.